If you're a single person, can you just get a donor egg, donor sperm, and carrier, put them all together and make your own baby? Stick around and I will let you know. Hey, Kathy Benardo here from the Northeast Assisted Fertility Group. Most doctors consider it ethical only to allow recipients to use a third party if there's some medical indication. So if you don't really have a diagnosis of infertility, you wouldn't be able to take advantage of, third party. So if you have a uterine issue, you would use a gestational carrier and use your own eggs. If you're of advanced maternal age and your eggs are no longer viable, you would get an egg donor and try to carry yourself and use your partner's sperm. Of course, if there's a sperm issue, you can use donor sperm. And of course, two gay men, they will of course need donor egg, gestational carrier, but they can use their own sperm. But let's say you are a single woman and you've had some reproductive cancer and you don't have any ovaries or uterus, and you don't have a partner. You would need donor egg, donor sperm, and a gestational carrier. Now, we have found in our work that some clinics just won't work with you. Just like if you don't have any of those things, if you don't have any of your own genetic material to use, they don't want to work with you. And it's just a matter of judgment and internal clinical policy. There's no ASRM, American Society for Reproductive Medicine, rule about these things. But there will be some places that will, but we have found that some of the bigger places, they have ethical issues with using all donor material, even if there has been a diagnosis of infertility. Now, one thing to keep in mind when using donor egg and donor sperm, this is a problem that we've encountered. Donor eggs, egg donors are really thoroughly genetically screened, sometimes for up to 280, even more, diseases and conditions. And it's very common for them to be a carrier from 1 up to 3 things, which are minor, but we just find out because they do this extensive testing. However, donor sperm does not have this extensive testing. I think they do typically very little genetic testing, or just what the basic FDA requirements are for genetic testing on donor sperm. So if you've picked your sperm donor and you're really excited about this great donor sperm you've picked, and then you screen your egg donor, and she's a carrier for 1 or 2 things, you really can't go back, track down that sperm donor to do extra genetic testing on him. So that's a big problem that we've come up with. Some sperm banks bank the sperm donor's blood and freeze it for later testing, just these kinds of cases when additional genetic testing may be required. So if you're planning on using donor egg and donor sperm, try to get your donor sperm from a bank that banks the donor sperm blood for additional genetic testing. Because if you really love your donor and she's a positive for 1 or 2 minor genetic things, it would be a shame not to have to proceed with her just because you can't test the sperm. And another way to get around that is if you have your donor sperm, but you aren't able to retest him for any additional genetic diseases, pick a repeat donor who isn't a carrier for anything. So she's had her genetic testing already from another clinic, she's totally a non-carrier, and then that would be fine. That's another way to get around it. But just keep this issue in mind when choosing all donor material. So I hope that was helpful. If so, please give it a thumbs up. Please subscribe to my channel and go to assistedfertility.com for more information on egg donation and gestational surrogacy. Thanks so much for watching.